Welcome into a new BuffStampede Radio. Adam Munsterteiger, the publisher of BuffStampede.com, joined by our favorite football analyst, William Gardner, a.k.a. William Gardner. William, how are you doing?
I'm pretty good. I don't know. I had to work today, so I'm here at the office and feel like I should open the blinds now. For the half the day, you can't have those open because it just blasts in and becomes a sauna in here. Not that I couldn't afford to sweat off a few pounds, but, anyway, it's a nice view.
That's a different start to the show than I expected, but
well, I don't know. Did something happen? What are we talking about here? What did you say before we got started? The 1-11 CU Buffs team?
Oh, I guess we're not in 2022 anymore, huh?
No,
we actually get to have fun on this show,
right? Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Well, unless you're of the mindset that the next opponent is the toughest team we ever played, which seems to be what we still have to endure every week. I don't know. I guess at some point people will begin to believe we're pretty good. I mean, among our own fans.
Yeah, I think that's happening. First off, I'm trying to make William Gardner become you still don't. That's over your head still.
No, I get it, but I also know what turns Mr. Hand into Mr. Fist.
Okay, so stick with William Gardner.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
Okay.
I seem to have some negativity towards William from my past, but I don't remember from what.
Okay. Yeah.
Fair
enough. Back to the topic at hand here, the Colorado Buffaloes. You are not worried about next week at Arrowhead Stadium.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess, you have to be there. There's always a level of concern. And like the night before a game, I'm always a little bit on pins and needles. And if we were ranked number one in the country and, playing a winless team, I still think, well, shit can happen, I guess. But so am I worried about it? They're a 4-6 team, man. I think wasn't it Bill Parcells that said your record is what you are.
William,
your record.
Okay, so we saw Nebraska-Colorado match up in week 2.
Right.
And what have we seen since then? A total different trajectory for both programs. So, in Nebraska has been playing some teams close, but they are not that team. Colorado is not that team. Kansas is not the team that's put that record together. You've got to look a little bit more at what they've done recently, right?
Well, I mean, you do and you don't. I mean, you're still, I guess so. Pull it up here.
I expect Colorado to win this football game. I'm going to pick them to win this football game. I'm not saying that they're favored in it, but
yeah,
I do think they're. I worry, William, if you were their head coach, the CU Buffs would be overlooking every opponent that comes up on their schedule.
Well,
I guess is what I'm getting at.
Wow. Okay. It's going to be that kind of a show, huh? All right. Everybody pile on. Hey, too bad it's not a call-in show. Everybody could just pile on. If I was the coach, I would be having a different attitude about it. If I had something to say about hold on. Let me check my phone messages. Hey, coach, did you call and ask me for input on who should play? Huh? No. So, I don't have any.
I'm gonna get killed in the comments for this show.
Yeah, well,
I'm sorry. I apologize already. I'm sorry.
Should we start over? I don't know, man. It's like I just look at it like this. It's like I'm a fan. I'm not there in the practice field. I don't interact with the players. They're not going to be poisoned with my positive attitude. And so. Of course you have to take it seriously, but what about this team that we've seen this year suggests to anybody that Coach Prime and this coaching staff doesn't have them ready every single week? They haven't taken anybody lightly. I mean, we lost to Nebraska bad because it was the second week of the season. We didn't have the offensive going. We didn't have the offensive line going. We didn't have Nakai Hill-Green at linebacker. If we played them again, we'd win by 3 touchdowns now. So at some point you have to believe in yourself and your players and your team. And I don't mind people, having concern or having, buff PTSD from the last 20 years. But you also have to be able to look at our team and say, we're a damn good team, And if you want to look at Kansas and say, what have they done recently? And sure, they've beaten Iowa State and BYU in the last 2 weeks. So that's a pretty impressive. And it looks like maybe they got back on track. But, I never understood why people thought Kansas was going to be a top 20 team in the first place. And I didn't agree with that back in the summer. So, I'm not going to all of a sudden now, hide and pretend that I think that there's some kind of juggernaut. They're still a 4-6 team, and they still have question marks and issues. And I think that I don't know. It seems like it's a fairly weak conference this year. I don't think Iowa State's that great. I don't think BYU's that great. So
Yeah.
what do we take from beating those two teams? I don't know. It's becoming. Well, I was going to say it's becoming increasingly clear, but I would say, let me put it this way: I'd say evidence suggests that we may very well be the best team in this conference. We got to play out some games and prove that, but nobody that I see has the kind of weapons that we have on both sides of the ball. And the other thing that kind of, it's like Coach Prime saying after the game on the TV with the TV interviewer on the field, like, we haven't put together a complete game yet. The mind kind of boggles a little bit at the thought of what this team would do if they showed up and played 60 minutes at their full capacity. I don't think there's anybody in the country that could beat them this year if they did that.
Yeah, that's all great stuff, William. I'm going to try to remember some of these points and react to them. First off, I'm submitting my Big 12 power rankings tonight, and Colorado should absolutely be number one. And I wouldn't put them number one if they didn't deserve to be there.
Yeah.
BYU has had a fantastic season. They've been very fortunate. But right now, if Colorado and BYU met up on a neutral field, who would win that game? And that's how I kind of think about my power rankings. And Colorado wins that football game. I feel very confidently about it. And it's crazy because you've got Arizona State set to play BYU next weekend. Whoever wins that game then is also in the driver's seat for the Big 12 championship game.
Right.
So Arizona State's in there as well. And Arizona State, if they met up with Colorado on a neutral field tomorrow, I would pick Colorado to win that football game. I think Cam Skattebo is one of the most fun players to watch in this conference, but Colorado's the better football team. So to submit that ranking with Colorado number one is not even there's not even a hesitation there when you look at these other teams. And I know that Kansas State beat Colorado, but they've been struggling recently. And we've also seen just Colorado out of these bye weeks. It takes them a second to get going, and against the Kansas State team, that proved to be deadly in that football game. But and also, I hope people pick up on our humor that you're such a good friend that I can kind of throw jabs a little bit here. So be a little bit easy on me in the comments. You want to talk? Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I mean, now, so I was going to say something else, but now I want to segue back and say, well, let's throw somebody else under the bus. But you said we can't do that. So,
I'm not harnessing you, William. Who do you want to talk about here?
No, we may
Dan Lanning.
No. I'm just looking at this BYU football schedule, and quite frankly, I don't think that they've played anybody. Now, I guess you could say the same thing about us since they've played mostly the same teams we have. But there's nobody that they beat on there except that pretty solid beating of Kansas State fairly early in the season. But aside from that, they beat the same teams we have, and quite frankly, well, I guess they beat SMU in the second game of the season when nobody knew at that time SMU was going to be as good as they are now. But second game of the season, I don't know. Any one game doesn't necessarily mean anything. So I don't know. Is BYU as good as their record says? Is Kansas as bad as their record says? I don't know. We keep playing out the games when we find out, but I don't see anything about Kansas. It's like the talk all last week was, we're not going to score our usual points because this defense is so good. 42 points, thanks. Offensively, not counting the punt return, which we need to return to because I need to make a point about that. But I don't know. I don't think it's a weird season to me all the way around. And I don't know what any of these teams are. Here we are 9 games in, and I don't know what any of these teams are in the Big 12, to be honest with you.
Well, how fun is it to talk about these scenarios, though, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, we're in the driver's seat and nobody else is, and so we just need to keep doing that and doing our thing. I don't, like if we show up and play our game, we're 2 touchdowns at least better than the next 2 teams we play. I mean, that's a fair thing, I think, to say. Is Kansas a tricky team? Could they beat us if we show up and crap our pants? Yeah. They're not a high school team or anything, but I don't think they're that again, like I've been saying all season long since fairly early when it became pretty clear that we had some players on this team. Uh when we show up and play our game, there isn't anybody in the conference that can beat us, in my view.
BuffStampede Radio is brought to us by the Hungry Toad. They have been bringing a taste of England to Boulder since 1991. William and I got a chance to stop by there during the Buffalo's second bye week. Had a fantastic afternoon there. William, what do you remember about that wonderful afternoon with myself and our guy, OMG, You're So Dumb?
Just having some fun, having some beer, and you trying to get me liquored up for the podcast.
Whoa,
Uh,
whoa, 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 whoa. Pump the brakes there. What happened now? Hanson
uh,
Rada offered you some samples and you decided to take them. And then you
and
decided to go David Bakhtiari. And I was drinking a Diet Coke.
yeah,
So
and then you were like, "Hey,
don't be putting that on
let's
me.
get you another beer in here," and I, in my aged wisdom, said that's probably not a good idea. Let's not do that.
We still had a great podcast though out of that,
Yeah,
didn't we?
yeah, and we had a lot of good food, and it was just a fun place to do it. It's it's fun to get out of the usual background, and we had those games going on then, and it's funny how much has happened in this conference since then. That
Yeah.
we were sweating all these outcomes, and now we're on top of the thing. If we
If
keep
you're
going,
mad about, yeah, if you're mad about football, so are they at the Hungry Toad. Whether it's the American gridiron or European footy, they are proud to support CU football and CU women's soccer. The Hungry Toad, Boulder's local pub that's not on Pearl Street. Head to the Hungry Toad in Boulder. Juju Lewis expected to be a Buff, and he decommitted from USC. Before we get into Colorado's most recent game, a 49-24 victory over Utah. William, I want to just ask you kind of your thoughts about Julian Lewis. We had his burger, the Juju's
right?
Precision Pass Burger at the Sink on the Hill in Boulder. It was a lot of burger. I wish I was 20 years old when I ate that. But no, it was delicious. And Boulder put out all the stops to try to get this young man.
Right.
And it'd be pretty cool to see that come to fruition here in the coming days.
Yeah, and that'd be fun. I mean, I don't, I'm not qualified to really evaluate quarterbacks, but a lot of people think he's pretty good. Um,
He's
what I,
just young.
yeah,
That's the
yeah,
only criticism I've heard from anybody is that he's just young, but he's going to be really, really, really good.
yeah, and well, I mean, we've had a lot of quarterbacks come through, but he's certainly highly rated and expected to be pretty good. So we'll see. I still think we even bringing him in here, I still think we need to bring in a veteran from the transfer portal, and I'm not. Some people are like, well, you got four. Well, I guess it's five. Is he 5-star or 4-star? I guess it depends on who you ask. But some people are like, well,
He's a 5 star. He was actually the number one rated guy in the ranked guy in the entire 2026 class. He reclassified. He went to Elite 11, and I think 24/7 has him as a 4 star and maybe on 3 too. But
yeah,
like I'm telling you, like uh, he was like literally perceived to be the number one guy in that 2026 class. So
yeah,
you can talk about 4 star, 5 star, but he is an elite quarterback. Um, I do share your concern, William, about the fact that you're going to hand over the keys to a true freshman quarterback that reclassified from 2026.
Well,
If Coach Prime is willing to do this, to have Julian Lewis be the future of this program, he's building for not just 2025.
yeah.
And at that point, it won't happen. You would think some folks would think that Coach Prime is actually dedicated to being around Boulder for a few years here.
Well, that's like asking people to believe we're going to beat the next team on our schedule. I mean, we're going to go off in a totally different direction if we start down this path. But I don't know how the man could make it any more clear that he's not going anywhere. But people still continue to follow, to pump that particular agenda. Getting back to Juju Lewis, I think, a lot of people see 4 stars or 5 stars and they assume that guy's going to start no matter what. But you know what? He's got to come in and compete and earn it. He's got to learn the offense. He's got to know what to do, and I see people like, well, there's no way that they're going to let Staub or whoever and anybody else start over him. They will if he's a better quarterback and we're more likely to win with him. There's no, at the end of the day, you got to win games. And while, yes, you have to show recruits that they have a road to playing early here if they're the best, you still have to play the best guy. And nobody's going to let Juju Lewis start if he's not ready to play the damn game. And I don't give a damn how many stars people put next to his name. So, I like what I've seen of Staub's game, and we'll see what happens, and in the spring and whatever, if whoever's here, so I don't know. Even you remember last summer, even I was with Jordan Seaton, I was like, well, it's not a sure thing until it's a sure thing. You just don't know. How many recruits have we seen come in all highly touted and they don't play for the first year or so? So it just remains to be seen once guys get on the field.
This is where we see like kind of your coach come out, because you want to temper those expectations for those young guys. And by the way, I highlighted a quote the other day from Coach Prime. This is one thing that I thought he said this perfectly. He was talking about Jordan Seaton, who we'll talk about his holding calls in the game. One of them, he got his money's worth. I was laughing.
Or the one over the top like this,
where he literally laid on the guy for like 8 seconds until the whistle blew.
You're allowed to do that. That's not holding.
No. But he already held him. That's
okay. Yeah.
How he got in that position. But Coach Prime said, when he was asked about Jordan Seaton, he said, quote, "He never gives up. He's probably upset with the holding penalties. One of the holding penalties, he grabbed the guy, kept his hands inside, and they called it. You can't get on Jordan too much because the kid is going to be great. The kid is going to be a top 5 pick when it's his turn to go pro. He loves the game, practices his butt off, and he's fundamentally sound for probably 95% of the time. He's a freshman, and they're going to get him a couple times, but he's going to win a lot more times than he loses. I'm tremendously proud of Jordan." Those are comments that like are made by that every 5-star recruit should want to play for a guy that's going to make those comments.
Yeah.
After a game like that, I feel like.
Well, I think any recruit should want to play for a guy, who said the things he said about Cash Cleveland too. That I don't give a damn if you're a walk-on freshman. If you're the guy that's ready to go, you're the guy that's going to play. And that right there is like, if Jordan Seaton comes in and starts from day one, everybody assumes it's because he's a 5-star, right? But if Cash Cleveland comes in and wins a spot late in the season and starts, the only assumption you can make is that he's the better option, right? And so you have to so in the first case, people are going to doubt that it's because, I don't know whether they'll doubt it or not, but it's easy to say, well, it's not, they're not, he's that, I don't know, whatever. But my point is, when you regularly start the better player, no matter what, players know that and they see it, and it's an important part of developing morale in a team and letting everybody know that everybody has an equal shot. Like people, if anybody, it's kind of humorous to me. It's like the idiot, dumb moron, Utah fans saying, "Oh well, Travis Hunter isn't that good. He got beat." Everybody gets beat. Everybody gets beat. Deion Sanders got beat. back in the day from time to time, So, Jordan Seaton getting a couple of holding calls in this game is no big deal because what he did otherwise was pretty spectacular on the touchdown run by Isaiah Gustav. There was all zone blocking to the right, and he understood the Utah defense enough and had good enough vision to recognize that outside linebacker or the defensive end was closing down. He pivoted and went the other direction, picked that guy up. Otherwise, it's a tackle for a loss, right? Now, true freshman tackle's not supposed to be able to do that, and he did.
Yeah.
So you need to look at the like, the vast majority of positive plays he had versus the two negative ones. And, the one holding was ridiculous. And the other one, now the other one where you could see his hands on the backside of the guy's shoulders, it's like if the back judge, and so when you're on offense and you're facing this way, there's a ref down there that's looking at you, okay? And that's the back judge. And he calls holding because he's behind the defense and he can see. The only thing he's going to see, if you're up inside here where you're supposed to be, he's not going to see your hands. Okay. If he sees a shirt stretched out like this, or he sees hands over the back, you're getting called for holding every time. And so Jordan will watch that video and he'll see what he did wrong. And it may have just been a slip in the moment, whatever. And he'll learn from that one. The other one, you just got a bad call. Nothing you can do about that. Just keep on playing.
Good stuff there, William. The stadium was packed, absolutely packed for a 10 a.m. kickoff.
Yeah.
We can't even downplay Colorado's fan support before Coach Prime got to Boulder. You think back to that Cal win against Cal in 2022. Buff fans have deserved this moment.
Yeah.
They really have.
Well, and
but that's an early ask for college kids. And that really signifies it's not just buy-in from this team, it's buy-in from everybody, the community.
Yeah.
There might be a couple there's haters everywhere. They're in the midst. To your point, the fact that a Utah fan could downplay Travis Hunter's performance based on one throw, the one freaking throw that your quarterback actually made in that football game.
Right. And it was good coverage. It was good coverage, but
well, he fell behind early, but he closed. And if I'm an NFL scout, I'm looking at that closing and I'm going, wow, okay, he's going to be right there no matter what. Anyways, what was it? Back to CU crowd. Yeah.
The attendance was even more impressive given the fact that there was almost no Utah people there, at least by looking at the amount of red that you could see. There was like a few rows up in that visitor section way up in the trees up there and almost no now I get they probably gave up after losing to BYU and didn't want to come out here, and they got mountains there, so no real draw here, but we still filled it up, and I'm guessing some of those Utah people made some bucks selling their tickets to our people, which is a nice turnaround from some of our dumbass people selling their tickets to other people wearing red, if you know what I'm talking about. Wink wink. Right.
Yep. Good point. Shador's first throw was his worst throw. Isn't it crazy when your starting quarterback has a day where even himself would kind of critique it as ho-hum, and it's 340, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Yeah. And that, and that's like, and it speaks a great deal to me that I wasn't concerned after that interception. It's like, we'll turn that around. We'll get that fixed. If it happens two times in a row, then I'm going to get nervous. But, it was just, I don't know. You'd have to ask Shador why he didn't see that guy, but he didn't. There it is. But
he did after the game. I'm sorry to cut you off. Shador did after the game look for Utah's defensive coordinator, and he just wanted to congratulate him for the game plan that they had for them. They had some stuff that they weren't prepared for. And what's his name? Scully. He's going to be the next head coach at Utah when Willingham retires. And so, that is a part of this equation we need to put in there, right?
Well, I mean, that they've got a good defensive coordinator and a good staff that's been there together for a while, and they've got good talent on that defense. And I think they were fairly healthy for this game. And They were. I would say we have the best defense in the conference based on what I've seen the last 5 weeks. But statistically, I guess depending on how you break out statistics, Utah's is maybe ahead of us on that regard. But they're a damn good defense, and all we heard last week was how good their defense is. We're not going to get our 30 points, and sure enough, we did. So even with Shedeur not having his best day, we showed, with Jimmy Horn not out there. We showed that we have people that can fill spots and make plays. I'm blanking. What's
Traylon Miller.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking about. That touchdown was awesome, man. That was I am not going to be denied the end zone touchdown. And you got to love that kind of a thing, especially with a young guy. And
Brandon Reyes quote tweeted a highlight of that play and told Draylon, "You're still doing squats tomorrow."
Yeah.
I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
These coaches they gotta keep these guys level headed, and
Right.
I think that is the mentality within the team. I think they're carrying that over week to week better,
Right.
but it's still like it's a constant battle.
But there's the array of weapons on this team is almost ridiculous. I mean, Jimmy Horn's out, Will Shepherd gets a couple touchdowns, right? And here's a play that you and I predicted all the way back last summer was LeJohntay Wester returning that punt for a touchdown. We said it. We said sooner or later this season that guy's going to have a touchdown on a return, and there it was. See, so let's just pat ourselves. We're really smart guys that we called that one, and there it was. So there's just such a wide array of weapons on this team that you shut one down and another one pops up. That run. I've been saying for a few weeks that since actually I've been saying from last summer that Augusta was our best running back, but also that he was our fastest one, and that given an opportunity he'll show it, and then he showed it because he pulled away from that defense on that run.
Yeah, that was a really nice run.
Yeah. Well, and it was well designed and it was well executed by the offensive line. If you watch that play, and I put it up on our board, our offensive line washed their entire defensive line out of the picture. So, when you see the behind, so what I put up was the overhead from the side view and then the rear view from the end zone, which is the best way to watch an offensive line. And there was nobody. There was a big lane you could have drove a semi through. You could have run my fat ass through it if I was riding on a car, maybe. But the point is that the offensive line did a heck of a job with this defense, and I was hearing all week we're going to get beat up again. So I don't know. I think what I continue to see in terms of the running game is I don't want to see Dallin Hayden out there because giving him the ball is a wasted carry. And we should be giving the ball to Augusta more often because then I don't mean.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping last week when we were kind of critical there. Like I wanted him to just come out and have a great game, and it's not happening right now.
No, and
if we can get Michael, they need a second back at times,
right?
I think.
Right.
But one of my notes, real quick, William, was that I'm jonesing for like a 20 carry game again for Isaiah Augusta.
Right.
And I know he had that holding call in pass protection that wasn't good.
It was egregious.
That's not a good way to get to that 20 carries a game mark. But
and I think it also goes, that reminds me of something. I'm going to make one more statement about it. Charlie Offerall's touchdown, I don't think Dallin Hayden gets that because I don't think he sees that hole. Because if you watch that play, and I put that one up too, it's not a wide open hole. It's you got to kind of sneak through it, and then Mayers just obliterated a guy to make it easy to get into there. But I don't think Dallin Hayden makes that run. But it's amazing to me. It sort of stood out to me in this game. That at one point, Khalil Benson flinched. He didn't even wait. He just ran off the field, right? He didn't wait for Lode Holt to say, get out. he knew, and the commentators on TV even commentated about it, that they had spoke with Phil Lodehold, and he said, "Look, you get a penalty, and we're going to replace you." One of the guards, obviously not the tackles, but with the guards, you get a penalty, we're going to replace you. And Khalil Benson didn't even he as soon as the flag was thrown, he ran off the damn field because he knew. And I thought to myself, imagine having the depth at guard and at running back that we could pull a guy because he got a penalty. We haven't had that in a while.
Yeah,
You know,
good point.
it's been a lot of years where you make mistake on every damn play, and ain't nobody to replace you.
All right, on the other side of this break, we're going to talk more about the offensive line because, William, I want to talk to you about Cash Cleveland and what happened there against the Utes. We'll be back after this. Today's episode is brought to us by McCauley Capital Fractional CFO Services. Is your business looking for financial guidance and support but not yet big enough to hire a full-time CFO? Well, we have a solution for you. Hiring a fractional CFO who can work with your business on a part-time basis. You get the benefit of having a seasoned financial expert on your team without the commitment or expense of a full-time hire. And here's the best part. It's likely that a partnership with McCauley Capital will be a win-win situation, meaning that your business will make more money from the guidance of a fractional CFO than the total cost of partnering with us. For more information or to set up a meeting, please visit McCauleyCapital.com. That's McCauley Capital.com. So Cash Cleveland got his first start for the Buffaloes against Utah on Saturday. The Buffs continue to rotate guards, and we've had a pretty solidified tackle situation with Jordan Seaton at left tackle and obviously Phillip Houston at right tackle. Any thoughts about Cash Cleveland, the offensive line from this game on Saturday, William?
Yeah, I mean, I thought they played pretty well overall. I mean, I think our issues with the run game are still remain to be about the play calling more than anything else. I'm kind of looking at some of the stats here to see what all we did and everything. But I don't know. I thought Cash Cleveland played pretty well against a pretty seasoned and good off defensive line. Somebody posted on the board that he was getting eaten alive by the nose guard. I didn't see that, and now that seeing that comment makes me want to go back and watch it again. And I'm going to say this: if you don't go and watch every single play specifically for that particular player on the offensive line, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, because you can't just watch the film and think you have an idea of what happened with all five guys. You have to watch each play specifically for that guy to see what they did on each play, because it all gets lost in the wash, and you really have to pay attention and spend some time on it. But I didn't see him have any problems. I thought we had some struggles. They did some they were doing a lot of different things with their pass rush and blitzes and stunts and things like that. And curiously enough, on the Augustov touchdown, the nose guard stunted completely out of the play, which that's the way it goes. You make a call. Sometimes you get it right, sometimes you don't. But I didn't see him have any problems that caused me any concern. Our rotation at guard was Benson and Harden.
They had Harden got in there.
Yeah, and Benson and Harden together, and then
Mayers and Brown.
Mayers at the right side and Tyler Brown on the left side together by quarters again, as far as I could tell. And I'd be curious to know what they all think about that, although I'm not sure that any of them would be honest. I'm sure they all want to play every down. Yeah. I thought they were pretty effective. I thought the pass protection was pretty effective against a pretty good pass rush. I think we struggled a little bit with some of their stunts and such, but I still think the problem in the run game is the play calling and like when we run those runs, like we run a counter with a Gustav, we're going to get 5 yards every time. And I don't know why we don't do it. It's there on the film, they could say all they want. Well, we ran it a few times and it didn't work. Well, you didn't run that, and you ran it to Hayden, which, you might as well have just thrown the ball out of bounds right at the snap. But I don't know, to me.
Yeah, William, can you at least admit that you want Dallin Hayden to go off for like 100 yards and just prove us wrong.
I
You
don't have
do
any.
want that, right? Yeah.
Well, look, I don't have any
There's no,
beef. There's nothing personal. I'm just watching the results and seeing what I see, And so,
right,
like, I
right,
would love
right.
for him to come out and be the guy, and every time he gets the handoff, be that guy. But after a while, you watch, and it's any profession out there, right? You are what your body of work says you are. Okay. Um, and all I can tell you is that when we run the plays with Augustov, he runs in a different way. He finds the holes. He runs harder. Um, like he caught that pass out of the backfield and did a little pirouette and then got upfield and got a first down off of it. I don't know if you remember that play, but it was like every time they throw the ball to Hayden, he falls down. I mean, I'm not trying to crack on the guy, but I'm just seeing what I'm seeing, and it's frustrating to see one guy be very effective and not get used more.
I don't disagree with you. I threw that out there just so it's clear that we're not rooting against Dallin Hayden. Like we want
No, I
him to
mean,
do well. Yeah.
right. It's like, hey, I'm as big a fan of Hank Zelinskas as there is, but Cash Cleveland is the starter now, and I'm not gonna come out here and go, well, he looks like crap just so we can get praise
Right.
Zelinskas. I thought he looked good, and
Yeah.
it's a quite frankly, it's a hard coaching position when you got two guys equally good. What are you gonna do? Who are you gonna play? So, but from a team standpoint, it's a great thing. Okay. Um, but I don't care who's the star. I don't care who wins any given position. I just have my views of what I see based on the play that I see. So, like I was pretty critical of Houston early on, but he's developed into a damn good offensive tackle. So I'd still like you to ask him what he weighs next time he has a press conference, but I don't really know how big he is. I'm very curious about that, but I think he's getting the job done. So who cares?
Yeah. Yeah. You criticized that afterwards, and I didn't know that was a big question out there. You only get so many questions as a media person. I think some
Right.
folks don't
But
understand that,
top
but
priority ought to be what I want to know, right? That's not
okay,
that's not
okay.
how it is.
Well,
No.
how about this? I'll buy us matching Isaiah Augusta jerseys for Christmas. We can get in front of some holiday lights, and it'll be magical. What do you think about that?
I don't know. It kind of sounds like Schwarzenegger and DeVito and twins or something. I'm not sure which one is which, but
Good reference there.
yeah.
Hill Green.
If he
I
ain't if he ain't an All-American, man, I don't know what it takes. Anyway, go
I
ahead.
don't I don't know what other linebackers are doing. I just know that so at the Folsom Field press box, we're 4 levels up once you get to the top of that west side.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't hear pads cracking
Yeah.
up that high. Every time Nikai Hill Green hits somebody, I hear that hit. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. You hear it on the TV too, I mean, and you don't hear anybody else, but his hitting style, but then his play style is so well, he knows the game and he understands that it almost seems like he gets the play call from the offense sometimes, but watching the game again on TV, the commentators talked a lot about, and this was a good point, and they actually showed it with some film, that he's very patient. Okay. In other words, he's going to be he lines up 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and he doesn't step like everybody thinks a linebacker going to step forward. But he stays back there and he lets things develop, and then he flies to the ball, right? And that way he doesn't get all caught up in the wash of linemen going back and forth. I think it speaks well to how well the defensive line is playing. But his patience and vision is fantastic, and he just kind of stands there and he waits, and then it's like Travis, like you said, closing speed, man, and then it's like a missile. And he's going to come at you full speed and hit you right in that hole. But he's exciting. Talk about the defensive line reminds me it was fun to see Chidozie and Wankwo throw that guard to the ground and just crush that guy in the backfield on that one tackle for loss. There's just a lot of fun things to watch on our defense.
Yeah, no doubt. That's what makes these rewatches of the game so fun when you know
Yeah,
the outcome and you
yeah,
can just enjoy watching Bentley and Hill Green do what they do. And William, that was a position we were cautiously optimistic about
linebacker.
going
Yeah,
into this
yeah,
season.
yeah.
And Hill Green didn't start the opener.
Right.
So to get to like where we are now, where when I watch those guys make plays, there's a part of me that goes, dang, they're not going to be in Boulder next year.
Yeah, yeah,
For that to be the transition, and you start to think about Buffalo Heart Award, and I think Vonta Bentley would be a top candidate for that.
yeah.
Shador and Travis, obviously. I don't know what they're going to do, but Bentley's been through so much in just 2 years here.
And he's had,
That linebacker core just makes
yeah.
you really appreciate how far this football team has come.
And we talk a lot about Hill Green because what he's doing is so spectacular. But my God, if he wasn't out there, we'd be raving about Levante Bentley because he is playing fantastic football, and it's just, and he's hitting just as hard as he's not quite as big, but he's bringing the wood and stopping people up in the holes too. And I don't know. Then there's other, it's like there's just like Tawfiq Thomas. We haven't seen him all season, and he gets that big sack, and that was athletic as hell because he missed
Yeah,
a guy and didn't fall down. He came back and got him back down. That was a lot of fun to see that happen for him. Keaton Wade was another. He recovered that fumble, right? Didn't he?
he did. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So another big
So
play.
real quick there, if he plays in another game, he can't redshirt this year.
Yeah.
Is Keaton Wade too valuable for this football team to redshirt at this point?
Well, I think it's too valuable for the team, but I also think, from his perspective, the point of redshirting is to save your eligibility until you're ready to be dominant, to ready to be a really impactful player. You're already there, man. there ain't nothing to wait for. And if he keeps playing like he is now all through next year, he won't be around for that extra year, man. Because he'll be going to the NFL. Because with his size, 6'4", 250, and the way he moves and runs, he's an NFL player, and he's showing it right now. And I think I'm not a scared of these last two teams, but I also don't think we take bullets out of your gun. And he's a guy that's become too valuable to the defense. I mean, again, the point of the red shirt is to help you grow and learn and be ready to go. And I think it made a lot of sense early in the season when he was injured, but now, he's playing every game. And it's interesting. And it just occurred to me in this game, and I wish I had time to go back and look, but it strikes me that Wade doesn't show up until second half. Like they almost rest him in the first half, and then when people start to get a little winded, then he comes in all of a sudden with his packages, and all of a sudden, the offense is like, where the hell this guy come from? They just got an assembly line of Terminators back there, man, and they just keep coming out. And so it's I wonder if that's the case, or if I just have missed him early in the games or something. But that line, those edge players just continue to amaze. Uh, Arden Walker and BJ Green both had another great game. So it's just exciting to see that happen. And one, I don't know if you watched the whole game again on TV, but uh, Tawfiq Thomas got a sack, and that's what I was going to look up on the stats. Was who all got sacks, but they kept flashing over to Coach Sapp, Warren Sapp, on the sidelines, and how excited he was every time one of his guys made a play, and they showed
Yeah.
him at one point his eyes are all big, and they're like, my God, I think they could put that guy out there and he'd still win most of his battles. So, and then I also appreciated that the TV team also spoke at length about Damian Lewis and his 10-year NFL career as well, because it's not just Warren Sapp, it's a team effort they're putting out there, and it's just impressive and exciting. We talked about what we expected from the pass rush in the summer. and it didn't really happen those first few games. And then all of a sudden now, I don't know, it's like a hand grenade, you know,
Yeah.
just went
And
off.
I want to add in there, I don't think you mentioned his name, Amari McNeil. He has entered beast mode out
Oh
there.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
He is a level of confidence has been created within him where you see some of the different moves he does to get back there in the backfield. That wasn't evident early on last season. You saw a few glimpses of it here and there late last season and early on this season, but now all of a sudden I feel like he could be a guy that could come back next year and be an all conference type guy.
yeah. Well, I mean, he might be this year the way he's going now. I think, and I think he's one of those guys that has truly benefited tremendously from Warren Sapp and Damian Lewis and really refining his technique. And then also, Coach Mo and the strength program. And he has turned into a guy in these last 3 games that's basically unblockable. I'm not 100% sure that Shane Koch gets his starting job back from this guy at this point. Not because Shane Koch is not great, but because Amari McNeil is so impressive at this point, But he had a sack in this game as well. And I think that's when they were talking about Coach Sapp and how impressive the job they're doing with this defensive line. So it's just exciting and fun.
Yeah. There was one play in here that made me kind of excited. It's when Isaiah Harge got the Wildcat
Yeah,
snap and went for what was it, like 15, 20 yards, but it got called back from a
for
penalty.
a holding,
Uh,
yeah,
I do like how this coaching staff tries to keep guys engaged.
right,
It's like, here's your role. They're not going to be worried about the 85 scholarship limit. And if that goes up to 105 next year, like a lot of people think, I don't think Colorado's ever going to be on that. Like, I don't think
yeah,
Coach Prime wants a lot of really unhappy people in
right,
his locker room. And he even talked about a moment where he met up with Quincy Wiggins in the end zone before the game when they did their prayer. And he said that he told Quincy that I'm so proud of you for like not giving up. And he said that I know you're on scout team. I know that you're not like having as big a role as you want. And I'm just so proud of you for not giving up on us.
yeah,
And he said that Quincy told him, I'll never give up on you, coach. That's a powerful moment. And that's what I think partly drives Coach Prime to want to do this job.
right,
But I don't think you want too many people on this roster that are not on the field. Like you want to
right,
cultivate depth the way they have. And people criticized it, but so far this season, it's worked out so well. You've had injuries pop up, and just does not matter. And
right.
then, Terrell Timmons didn't have a very good game
No,
early on. So you
no,
put Draylon Miller in there.
right,
And so
right,
again, depth. You like in
right, right.
so you're giving guys a chance. I thought that was a cool quote, just talking about, Coach Prime talking about his experience there with Quincy Wiggins, but just the fact that, they are finding ways like Isaiah Harge to be
Yeah.
engaged in part of this program.
Well, and these are all examples of leadership. And I think the traditional view of coaching is you yell and cuss a lot, right? And that's not leadership. I mean, there's a place for it. There's a time and a place for it. My guys used to say if I didn't come out cussing at them, they thought I didn't love them anymore. But you got to show them the love too. And I had a head coach years ago, and this saying um, stuck with me, and I'm going to try to remember what it was. I was like, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? And you got to show young men that you care about them, and then they'll give you everything they got. And that's the point of a coach is you think you're giving me everything you got, and I'm gonna get some more out of you. Okay, because you don't know, and I do know because I've been around and I've been there. So we're gonna help you get there. And um, the way that Coach Prime dealt with Quincy Wiggins is one form of leadership. But another form of leadership that I see on this team is they have plays for guys. They have packages for guys. They don't expect every guy to fit every play in a playbook, offense or defense, right? And I wish going back to Dallin Hayden, I wish they would find some plays that were right for him. But, like Keaton Wade doesn't come out there and run the whole damn defense. they bring him out with certain other guys who accentuate what he does, and they put him in a package where he can shine. Right? They bring out Draylon Miller, and they give him plays to let him show what he can do, and that is really great coaching. And it takes more work because you got to know your players and you got to know your playbook and you got to think about it, and call some plays that they can be out there for. But everything I see from week to week about this team shows me excellent coaching in every way about it. And I can't say enough good things about this coaching staff. And when I say coaching staff, I mean that strength and conditioning staff too, because those dudes spend more time with the guys than all the other coaches do, and they have found great ways to reach these kids and bring out the potential in them. I mean, how many years have you and I watched Utah and Colorado, and they just pushed us around like we were a bunch of kids? And we went out there on Saturday and we threw the bully off the block with the block bully. but we pushed them around and had our way, so it's just exciting to see it. And like we keep saying, every week there seems to be a new guy that pops out of the woodwork. To this week for me, it was Tawfiq Thomas with his sack, which was a really pretty play. And Draylon Miller on offense, I guess, would be that guy, and that was a really pretty play too. And I don't know, man, they're just everybody on this team knows it's your turn to get out there. You better do the damn job. And it's not because you're going to get punished if you don't. It's because, I don't know, I'm Tawfiq Thomas and I see these guys in front of me kicking ass. I want to do it too.
Yeah. I mean, just that defensive group in general.
Yeah.
Utah having 31 yards on 31 rushing attempts. And I know sack yardage is put in there, but
right.
Their even adjusted rushing total was embarrassing. And that is something we're not used to going against Utah.
Right. Yeah. Opposite way around. Yeah. And so it was a very dominating game. That reminds me, going back, because this goes back to our point we were just making, that reverse to Travis at the end of the game. That's coaching. Okay. And that's not running up the score. That is showing that, look, we got to build this program, and part of building this program is having stars, right? And there is no better, outside of a national championship, nothing is bigger for a program than a Heisman, right? But it also shows all these guys. You look at all these guys that come in to visit here. Juju Lewis is like, Coach Prime is saying, I will give you the opportunities that you need to achieve what you can achieve, and I will go out of my way to make sure you achieve those goals. And that's great coaching to me. And then the obvious thing about that play was when he went over to the right, I was like, any mere human gets tackled right there. And as soon as he ran over there, I was like, he's going to reverse the field score. I thought he was going to go all the way the other way. Yeah. But I was like, I know he's going to reverse the field score. But it was not a play designed to rub their nose in it. It was a play designed to build this program up, in my view.
Yeah. There's some people that just don't understand the marketing side of Coach Prime. Right. And you know what? At this point, almost 2 years after covering Coach Prime, I'm so over it, and that's your problem, man.
Right. That's your.
I want to swear right now and drop a bunch of F-bombs and just call out a bunch of people, but it's not worth it. It's going to keep happening. Well, you just gotta be above it, I guess.
Yeah. And it's like I remember Sean Niehoff after one of the early games wrote, watch the game again without the TV sound on, and you'll enjoy it a lot better. And he was right, because the negativity towards us was so overwhelming. But now you watch it now, and all they can do is gush about how great we are and how good we look and what a great job Coach Prime has done. And it's a play. Now, granted, it's our former all-conference quarterback is one of them, but Joel Klatt, but
And
still,
he's so good at his job. The
yeah,
way he is able to know the route to diagram that in the replay on the fly like that, that is a unique
yeah,
talent because he is 6 floors up in that press box
yeah,
above other people in the stands. So I covered Joel when I was a pup recruiter, pup media member. He was a quarterback at CU, and to see his progression has been pretty
yeah.
amazing.
Well, he's the one that first caught that on Augustov's run. He's the one that first caught Jordan Seaton's excellent block, and they came back and they showed it from behind, and he diagrammed that. He said, "Watch him go this way, and he's going to come back this way." So to see that from 4 stories up, because I didn't catch it on the first time they ran the damn play, and I watched the offensive line, so that
Yeah,
was impressive. But just to see the difference in how we are covered in the game because people are seeing it. And when you see it with your own two eyes, it's pretty impressive thing what's happening with this team. So it's exciting. And then,
yeah,
that and then that I was very touched after the game when Coach Prime was doing his on the field interview with the on field reporter, and of course you want to hear about Travis and Shador, and he made sure to say, "Hey, we got Charlie in the paint," which his joy and his excitement about that was real. You can't make that up. But it's like, here's a guy who's the third or fourth string running back, and he loves that kid.
yeah.
So I don't know. It's exciting times, um, and I think we got more to come. So,
Yeah, I booked my travel to New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony,
oh wow,
and I'm pretty excited about. I've never been to New York. I'm wearing a
oh,
property of Queen Elizabeth. It's my
uh,
wife, Liz.
yeah,
She is
nice.
going to come with me, and she's going to photograph that. And she has not been in New York before, so we're pretty excited about
Wow, yeah,
that.
yeah,
And I'm going to probably have to go out solo to cover the Big 12 championship game, hopefully in a couple weeks, or 3 weeks. But yeah, I mean, I get to make these travel plans ahead of time, but the team has to focus on Kansas right now.
yeah, yeah. That's a lot of fun. I think you'll enjoy New York, and um, I don't know. I say, dude, go. Drive around Manhattan and go up Broadway and stop at any random pizza joint and get yourself some slices.
Well, I'm a big fan of Katz's Deli, so
Okay.
and I say that because I've had it before. And back in Vegas, they used to have a place in Caesar's Palace, and I've had it shipped out. But I've never had it in New York, so I'm
Yeah.
looking
Good.
forward to that.
Yeah. Try to get out to Coney and get to Nathan's and get an actual Nathan's hot dog right there on the
Yeah,
beach.
I'm just looking forward to spending some time with my wife. She has been
Yeah.
holding down the fort at
Yeah.
home, and we've got 3 kids, 2 dogs, and uh, she has really been kind of the strength of our family here during the Coach Prime era. And I love the fact that she takes interest because she rewatched this Utah game with me today. So,
Nice.
man, yeah, it's been so fun, but there's only 24 hours in a day.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, I'm
Only so
looking
much
forward
you
to
can
that.
do.
Yeah. Any other
Well,
takeaways? We had what else do we have going on there? We got to ask about some injuries this week. Find out with what is
yeah.
going on with
What's
Preston
going?
Hodge, Shane Cokes. It looked like Dallin Hayden
Jimmy
injured his
Horn.
shoulder. Jimmy Horn, Michael Welch.
Um, yeah, you said Cokes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we get through these two games. It'd be curious. It'd be interesting to see, like you brought up earlier with Keaton Wade, what happens with him. Um, but again, hey, what about this? There's the thing. Where the and this is a legit question for you. Where the hell did the kickoff guy come from that suddenly was booming it in the end zone?
he's from Boulder, Daniel Gerlach.
Had he not
Uh,
been kicking off before?
a couple weeks beforehand. Yeah, he actually I said in my analysis video with Brian that he was a freshman. That's not true. He's a sophomore. He transferred in from Colby College, but he is from Boulder High. I did a story with him before he got on college and got on campus at CU.
Okay.
And yeah, no, Coach Prime said his nickname is Opie.
Opie,
Yeah,
probably because of how he looks, I guess. But
yeah.
yeah, I was all, after all the angst and anxiety on our board about the kickoffs, all of a sudden they were going in the end zone. I was like, huh, I don't know where he came from.
Utah didn't have any more success than CU in that game. That CU
Yeah.
actually won that game on special teams, it felt like.
And I know it's probably I don't know what's the word, but I was cheering for Cole Becker to miss every time he got up there, and not just because I didn't want him to have the points. I'll admit it.
He didn't really have a choice but to leave CU, though, right?
I don't know. I don't remember what the
Yeah,
situation
I
was.
mean,
He's at Utah now, so he's not one of mine. But I got my little guy at kicker, who apparently,
and
according to somebody on our board, said is 11% more accurate than anybody else in kicking in college
okay,
football this year. Which I was like, I don't know. Okay, I don't know how you percolated up those numbers, but I'm gonna run with it.
all right. Anything else here before we close out, William?
I don't think so. I think it's
What about Shiloh Sanders strip sack? We should
yeah,
talk about that. That had to feel really good for him. I know he
yeah,
got the touchdown the prior week at Texas
right,
Tech,
right,
but to
right.
actually be the one to being able to deliver that hard hit
Well, and
to get that.
and those are plays you live for as a defensive player and as a fan, where you come untouched off the corner and the guy's facing the other direction. And well, he actually wasn't. He was hit him right. He really hit him right in the midsection because he was turned that way. And he did a great job of wrapping up, and he hit with his shoulder, so there's no targeting, no nothing like that. And he just really did a great job, and it was fun. Um, I don't know that there's anybody on this team that gets more undeserved negativity than Shiloh. I don't really understand why that is, but I think he's a good player and makes these big plays and well, makes some knuckleheaded plays here and there, but by all accounts is a good guy and a good person. So I'm excited to see these things happen to him these last 2 weeks.
Well,
Not, not these
it
coming
was
last 2 weeks, but this week and last week.
well, it just goes back to how quick fans are to react with instead of I'm frustrated, bench that kid.
Right.
And that was when Shiloh came back from the injury this year. I didn't really see a whole lot of that last year. There might have been some frustration with the fact that he didn't wrap up on tackles at certain points during the 2023 season, but it really was one of those things where I was talking with Brian Howell and like it's like we got to stick up for this kid
Yeah.
because you know
He's a good player.
it's going to be okay. You can't just bench somebody the second they do something they have a bad game. You got to coach them up.
Right. Right.
And it's not even just the coach's kid angle of it. It's like Shiloh created more forced fumbles than anybody in the country last year.
Yeah. And
And yeah,
And you raise an excellent point about coaching is that your job as coaches is to make everybody better. Okay. And when you don't, I don't know, my sort of mantra has always been, I don't give up on a guy until his eligibility's done, man, because you never know, and if you're a coach, it's my job to continue to teach you and teach you and teach you. Now, some guys can't learn from mistakes and can't learn from teaching or whatever. And, you know, but I don't ever give up on them. I keep trying. At the high school level, you got a lot of kids that really can't play the game, and so you have different role as a coach. But everybody on this team is a guy that should be able to play at this level. So your job is to try to make them better. And you can't give up on a kid because he makes a mistake, because every human on the planet is going to make a mistake. I don't care how good they are. That I was just thinking though that a guy who I kept seeing on Saturday, no really super spectacular play that stood out to me, but he just kept showing up, was Carter Stoutmeyer.
mm-hmm.
It just like assisted tackle. I don't know. He just kept showing up in the vicinity of the ball, and so it was good to see him showing up again as well. So,
It's
hey, yeah, anyway, sorry. And we talked a little bit about all that talk about Juju, but we had our next 5-star offensive tackle. Michael Carroll was in the damn stadium and couldn't have been there for a better game.
He was so coming out of the post game press conference, going down the elevator.
Yeah,
I rode down with him.
big dude.
He's as big as they advertise.
Yeah,
Yeah. The
yeah,
elevator was we didn't have a whole lot of oxygen left in there when
yeah.
we get out.
He's a ginormous dude. I mean, he's another guy that probably starts from day one.
Yeah.
Because he's just really that good. And to have him, to have him in Boulder for that game, I wouldn't bet against us, with our coaching staff and what we bring to the table. Like, remember we used to say back in the day, if you get him to Boulder, you got a puncher's chance.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just thought that was exciting, especially when I watched his video he's got that intimidating look to him, kind of that,
Even in the elevator.
right.
Well, we have a ton of content we got to get to recruiting wise, breaking down these guys
Yeah.
leading up to signing day. But we're just excited to cover an 8-2 football team, and so we're putting most of that on the football side right now. But we're definitely going to get into the recruiting side. William, appreciate your insight, and let's let you get back to making Colorado a better place.
All right, man. Well, it's time for me to go home and make Bill a better person by, getting out of the dang dress clothes.
Yeah,
Whatever.
yeah.
All right.
Some basketball shorts for you. That's what I'm rocking right now.
Or sweats. Yeah, I don't know.
Sweats. Okay.
Nice and cool in my place, but yep, it's time to go home.
All right, William.
Yeah,
appreciate you.
I got the whiteboard up there, but I didn't have anything that caught my attention that look, if people are watching this and you want something diagram, you tell me and I'll put it up there for you.
Okay.
But there wasn't anything about this game that made me go, hey, I need to explain that to people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, William. Let's let you get home, get into those sweats.
I was going to explain the punt return for a touchdown, except all it really comes down to is he's really damn fast.
That first cut to the right and watching those Utah guys fall into each other.
Yeah.
You had to enjoy that as a Buffs fan. All right. Let's let you get home to your sweats there, William. I appreciate you, and I appreciate everybody out there for tuning in.